Alright, what's up guys? Just got done with the police after my SKT VOD review. Um, Turns out T1 won. I was wrong. I thought Dom1 was gonna win. Anyways, yeah, the guy was just in the hallway, maybe on some drugs, maybe drunk. Um, he was just banging on everyone's doors and yelling. So we couldn't determine if he was just a big gamer or if he you know was a crackhead. But it turns out he's not a gamer. So a little unfortunate. Anyways, I decided I just do a patch rundown. I've already looked at these, but I think I just like to get some concrete thoughts out, just about how I think about this patch. I don't think it's a very big patch. I don't think it changes a whole ton. But I think there are some things that you can talk about. So obviously they're gonna nerf Akali, gut her, destroy her, chop off her kneecaps, um, obliterate her lungs, and do everything else. But we'll check out what actually they are doing. So they're making her Q rank 1 cost 120 from 100. This is actually kind of a big deal for the early game. But I think it's actually this is a good nerf, okay? Because currently Akali, if she wants to, she could push anyone she wants in a tower. For the most part, okay. So I think nerfing this makes a ton of sense for the early game, but I think this is going to hurt a lot when you get to the rank 5 and it's still being 100. I think that's a very, very heavy nerf that um, I like making it 120, but maybe scale it still down to maybe 90 or something, not all the way just to 100, which is a lot. Which is the problem is because they're trying to balance her around presence of mind as well. Um, but that requires you to be ahead to get the kills for presence of mind. So if you're not able to get the kills for presence of mind, she's even a worse champion. But obviously, I'm not going to say Akali's not broken. She's literally the most broken champion in the game right now. Um, but I still want her to be playable because I think she's a very fun champion to play and watch. Not necessarily to play against, but there's a lot of champions that are fun to play against. So I don't think that necessarily matters to Riot's eyes. But I would like this to go to 90. I think 80 is a little bit too little, but I think that nerfing the 120 at rank 1 actually makes a ton of sense for her early wave clear. Anyways, we're gonna go on to her W move speed change. Instead of just getting flat percent move speed the entire shroud, instead she gets it over 2 seconds and it decays over those 2 seconds. So it's barely an increase in move speed, but it's only 2 seconds, which I think is a pretty massive nerf. You know, I think this helps her very short trading style, which I guess is maybe what they're trying to do, where she does Q backup auto, Q backup auto, and that's it. Um, but then you have to wonder why is her shroud 8 seconds then? Why maybe we could have reduced her shroud duration instead of doing whatever we're gonna do to her R in a second. So essentially, Akali in the early game will only be able to get 2 Qs off. And I think with her W, I don't think she even would get enough for a third Q, unless she's full energy already. Um, and so I think that'll limit her trading a lot and make runes like Conquer not as good on her. So maybe we see more fleet footwork Akali, or even electrocute could be better. But nerfing this energy and the shroud not being as mobile during the whole duration is a big nerf to Conquer. And I don't think Conquer Akali was that broken compared to fleet and electrocute even. Um, but with this change, this sort of nerfs electrocute Akali a little bit because you have to go into presence of mind for sure no matter what now. So your secondary would always be forced into choosing presence of mind. But I like the idea that they're going for probably trying to nerf the melee versus melee that matchups that she's really good at. Um, and so I think that makes sense in the nerfs. But the last thing on the page is the thing that I heavily disagree with. Obviously, as a Kali player, I'm going to disagree with this. Maybe if you're, not an Akali player, you love this change. Um, but her R is now targeted. But I actually didn't know this when I was hearing about it. Is it actually they increased the range to a possible 825, which is actually better than I thought was going to happen. But I think it's going to, be a new learning curve because it's actually a very common technique to R in and then gunblade and like go for the Q back up, auto like Q and then like R through or something. Like if you play Akali, you know what I'm talking about. Like usually like R1 and then like gunblade and then like you get your free kill or whatever. But now you can't really do that, so like you're forced to like R onto someone, which is very weird, which makes matchups like maybe like Ari or like Syndra or like some of these like mage matchups that like you can hit a spell that CCs like maybe that makes those matchups a lot easier because it's directly targeted. Or against certain supports like Thresh, he can hook you easier, flay you easier. Um, do all these different things rather than you gonna be choosing. A lot of people are focusing on, wow, she can't run away with her R now, but if you're a good Akali, you really do not use your R to run away. You know, I think that's like kind of a nerf to like lower elos, because higher elos you're almost always using your R to go in. There's like maybe one situation a game where you use your R to maybe run away, and even then, like I'd say it's very very limited. Most of the time, if you're using your R to run away, like you might as well like just go in with your R and try to get a trade kill, because if you use your R to run away, it's a 3 minute cooldown. So um, I think if these nerfs are too harsh, I think they should go and reduce her like ult cooldown like from 3 minutes to like 230 or something, because it's a little bit ridiculous right now how long of a cooldown it is, and I think this is gonna hurt her a lot. Um, I actually think that she might still be playable, but yeah, she will be significantly worse. And to think that this might be still playable is actually like just a testament to how broken she is. Her shroud is just the strongest, one of the strongest abilities in the game. So, um, I think that you probably have to go fleet now. Make up for the movement speed, make up for this being worse with Conquer, but I think into some matchups she's still gonna be good. Like for instance, like maybe Katarina, maybe like Echo, you know these types of matchups where she was already good, but maybe she's not as good into like the control mages like Orianna or Syndra or you know Zoe or something. She was already in like a weaker position against those, but now that you have to be, you know, hop directly onto them and be in range of them, it's like a lot easier for them to play against this champion. And as for top lane, this is like a huge nerf because if you're fighting any kind of bruiser or tank, you're going to be doing multiple Qs, like maybe 3 or 4. And this is going to like limit you to lose probably a Q or two. All right, go to Aphelios nerf. I don't think this is actually a giant nerf at all. Like this is literally like the worst nerf in the book. I think it was definitely like good that they did this, but I would have liked to see more nerfs accompanied with the champion. I think maybe nerfing, I'm trying to think about what to nerf from this champion, but like everything about him is kind of just broken. Um, I think there needs to be some more visual clarity on his abilities and his offhand weapon. But other than that, like, like maybe he needs more mana cost since people always go Essence Reaver. Like maybe he needs to be gated more by mana early game in certain areas, but Um, I'm not 100% sure how I would nerf this champion. You sort of create a champion that's hard to nerf, and it becomes kind of hard. But yeah, like this change, it really doesn't do anything. It only affects his crescendum, like where he places his tower, and then he uses his sniper in his offhand. So that's about the only thing it affects. Which I don't think like that combo was good, but like you were never more than 1800 away. Like there was very niche situations. But yeah. Azir buffs and Corki buffs. Azir Corki, Azir Corki, Azir Corki. There's actually super big buff for Azir. Let's not overlook that. One of Azir's biggest weaknesses is when he runs out of mana, and which is very easy to do early on. Um, Oftentimes, whenever you're playing Azir, like you're gonna use your W on the wave. Like let's say this is the wave. All right. You use your say his the X is his soldier. You use your W on the wave. You're gonna poke some, and then you're like gonna use your Q and try to hit the enemy like Orianna or something. Okay. Um, and so like that's you're getting value with your W, and then you're gonna get value with your Q by using your Q on the Orianna, all right, and then getting like 2 autos on her. Okay. And so that requires you to use 2 spells. Okay. And so when it requires you to use 2 spells, which his W is like 40 mana, his Q is like 70 or 80 mana, you go through mana very fast, and then some people like to skip over, a mana item on Azir, which I don't think you could do right now, and like go straight for Nashers or something. But you're a big mana hog, and if you get denied blue, it's even worse. But um, essentially, this mana buff will make it so he could WQ more frequently, and I think a big thing that people don't know about Azir is if you gank him and you make him WEQ to escape, literally half his mana is gone. It's like old RA Charm, where if you use Charm, what is that, 85 mana, then you just like lose the lane if you have to use it defensively like that. So I think that's a very nice buff for his early game and definitely hits on one of his weaknesses. So it's a pretty nice buff. I think some people might say like Azir's a late game champion, so this doesn't matter. You're gonna pick him in the same spots, but I think that like this actually was one of the core ways on why he was weak in the early game. All right. It's only 50 mana, but like that 50 mana is kind of big. It's another soldier. Um, anyways, the wall length increased by one soldier. You know, don't really think this does anything. Um, I think maybe like having 8 soldiers, like maybe you can block the entire river. I don't know. I'd have to see like the comparison on how big the size is, like the width of the wall. But I can't imagine this being entirely big. Maybe it's I guess the main thing is it's slightly easier to do a Zir sec or whatever you want to call it when you have 5. I mean 6 now. Which didn't they increase it like last patch or something as well? Because it didn't used to be like 4. So it might be slightly easier to do the Azir sec, which just, I mean, it's already very easy, but maybe it's easier to get like multi-man combos. Um, let's go to Quirky buffs. Um, if I remember right, these don't really do much, but let me double check. Damage per second ratio on his W does more with attack damage. Cool. The burn duration goes up. I'm not actually familiar with Corki, so by making the burn duration go up is like, are we getting more ticks to make it do more damage as well as the AD bonus, or like in the 0.01 AP bonus? I'm not really sure. And then now slows champions that are directly hit and knocked aside. Oh, this his. Is this his passive special delivery, or is this his normal one? I think it's his passive one. So okay, I like that the burn's going up. I think that is good because it is a little bit underwhelming. I think they should do more to like maybe something they could do is like he could use abilities. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but like he could use abilities during his special delivery. I think that would be a pretty cool change. Like he could use his Q and his R during it. I think that'd be pretty funny. Sort of similar how like Tilly could press Q and then press R, and she could like shoot Qs as she's like flying off her wall. It's really cool, and I think that maybe like that would have been a more like cooler change that they didn't decide to do. But yeah, this is just a special delivery buff. Um, but the biggest change is that if they're directly hit, they're knocked aside. So it's like a knockup for 1.5 seconds. That's kind of crazy, but you have to go into someone. So it's really just good for like the 1v1 plays, but I think it's kind of weird. Like it's like encouraging suicide bomber Corki, but yeah, maybe it'll actually be pretty good. It's kind of hard to dodge if he aims it directly at you. So yeah. Diana Nurse, big fan, big fan of these Diana Nurse. Okay, let me go on my Diana rant. Okay, the reason why Diana like is like okay in the mid lane is because she can deny the laning phase. And what I mean by that is she's similar to old Talia, where she can just sort of walk up to the wave, kill the wave, and then just do whatever the hell she wants. Um, Obviously, old Talia was faster and like could get better roams and do jungle camps without like taking damage. Um, but with her W at like rank 1 and her Q, she just sort of, if she can walk in the wave and not like take too much damage, she can insta clear the wave with like one Q, and then she walks up W's and then Qs it and they're all dead. And so I think it's very important that they're nerfing her base mana and as well as her her base damage on her W. Because notice the 4 damage later really doesn't matter, but the base damage early of missing that 4 damage is like a big deal. Because, she gets 3 orbs, so 4 times 3, she's missing 12 damage, which is kind of a big deal. And I think it hit her exactly where it needed to. So I'm really happy about that because by nerfing the base mana, you're denying the perma push strategy and just running somewhere else. So really happy about these changes. I think she's still going to be a strong champion, and this doesn't affect jungle Diana as like the base mana doesn't really affect jungle Diana very much, but this kind of does. Maybe you have to do one more auto. So, but this definitely a mid lane Diana nerf. We'll go to the next one. Nerfing Echo Jungle. I'm not really sure why. Like the thing about Echo Jungle is like Echo's good as a champion right now in solo queue, and it's not really because he's like a jungler. Like he could like if Echo mid is just as good as Echo Jungle. Like that's the problem here is like I guess they want to specifically make Echo a mid laner and not a jungler, but then why are we even keeping the 150% against monsters? Doesn't really make sense. Um, but um, I think if they wanted to nerf Echo, they should look at his R cooldown and not his damage to monsters. I don't think he cleared the jungle especially fast or anything. So I think it's a really weird nerf. But I think his R cooldown is too short when later in the game. Um, and other than that, like I don't think he's that overpowered. There are definitely ways to play against him, especially if you have CC. We can't have one patch without Ezreal being good, so we gotta buff Ezreal. If we're gonna buff his mana growth and his attack speed, I think we're just buffing it back to his original number after we had nerfed it like a few patches ago. And then buffing his mana growth, and buffing the mana growth also affects, you're gonna be building tier, and there was a point in time where Ezreal did the double tier build where he went Seraphs. I think that's long since gone. I think it's unique passives now or something. But anytime you buff mana, you have to wonder like if you could build Seraphs to get the bonus mana. Actually, since mana growth, I don't know if it counts as bonus mana. Anyways, regardless, I don't think the mana change is actually a huge deal, but instead also I think mana immune doesn't that scale with mana? Not 100% sure on that. I don't build the item. But the attack speed growth is super big. The mana growth really doesn't matter. It's really negligible. Considering you get so much mana on Ezreal. And a lot of people have been going, at least from what I've seen, is they like do the Triforce, Mana Immune, and then they go Luden. So you already get the Lost Chapter from there, and so you're never gonna run So I think the attack speed growth is a pretty good buff for him, and um, you know we'll be seeing him back soon. I think something else interesting though is that people have been doing lethal tempo Ezreal, at least from what I've seen. Um, and so this attack speed growth actually buffs lethal tempo Ezreal because you can get higher attack speed cap. Okay, anyways, we can check out Galio. I hate Galio. I don't think he's a very fun champion to play against, but they're buffing him. He definitely is weaker right now. I don't think he's like the worst champion in the game, but um, he's probably like B tier right now. I don't think he's even C tier. I think he's B tier, maybe you know, on the verge of actually being A tier. The problem is like he'll just get shit on by a control. Like at least for mid lane, I don't think he should be played support anymore, unless you're versus Yasuo. But as for like the mid lane, he can just sort of like against a lot of assassins he can do well, but he struggles against like the control mages that I'll poke him down. Um, and so let's see what they do. They increase the tornado duration on his Q and then make it do 4 ticks. So I assume that increases the damage, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And so this actually hits where he's actually weak. He's actually weak into like the Orianas and the Syndras and stuff. Um, and like this helps him just wave clear and just completely deny the enemy to like have fun playing the game into a lane. He could just clear the wave and run somewhere else. So, I mean, if that was their goal to cover up his weakness of playing against these control mages and not like, you know, have to play against them, then they did a good job. But I sort of like Galio just being this niche pick that you like pick into assassins to lock them down. But we're just gonna buff his weakness. So we'll see how that goes, and then we're gonna nerf Leona damage. The biggest change for the Leona damage, obviously it's the same here. It's like same, pretty much the same throughout, but then we end up losing 15 damage by here, you know, and we max W first as Leona, so we're gonna just be missing 20 damage at level 9, which is kind of a big deal. I think that she's still just too tanky that she's not gonna be out of the meta, but I like the change and you max E second, but the biggest thing is that we got rid of 10 damage. So effectively at level 9 we're going to be losing 30 damage, which is, a decent nerf, but I think you mainly pick Leona because her consistent engage and she's just so goddamn tanky. Um, but maybe this will decrease the amount of times the support Leona solos your ADC, which probably shouldn't be a thing. Um, Next up, also, something to look at actually, I don't know how it functions, her W functions with Aftershock. I mean, this may be just like a side rant. I don't exactly know how Aftershock works. I could look it up. Maybe I will. Aftershock League. By typing on full display. My mouse is gone. Okay. So grant static 35 plus 80 bonus magic armor and magic resistance. Pursue bonus health. So when it says bonus armor, let me just double check something before I say something stupid. Bonus. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So something to keep in mind with Leona and why she's just so tanky, um, is because when she uses her W, she gets this bonus armor in MR. I don't know how much exactly. I'm gonna go check right now, actually. Um, you know, we'll say she's level 9, she gets 40 plus 20, 40. So she's getting a bonus like 80 resistances, like probably like 90 or like 100 almost. Then you multiply that by the aftershock ratio, which was like 40% or something, 80%. So I'm not gonna do the math right now, but essentially when you use your W and then you go in for a trade as Leona and you proc your aftershock, if you proc it while you have W up, you're being even tankier. And I think that's kind of the problem with her right now. Obviously like the damage is also a problem, but obviously I don't think we should like nerf the synergy between Leona W and Aftershock, but maybe take a look at like the values of Leona W like resistances, because I think she's just really tanky right now when you know granted I think that she should be a tank, but maybe she's a little bit too tanky when she has Aftershock up. 'Cause she's kind of like unkillable when she has W and Aftershock up, which I think is fine, but like she should take some damage, you know. Anyways, Miss Fortune is doing well on all skill brackets, so we're hitting her base stats instead of her abilities that certain players utilize better. Um, so the general build for Miss Fortune right now, press the attack, PTA. Then you do IE, um, Essence Reaver. So the problem like that this actually hits Misfortune like a good amount because she doesn't build any attack speed early. Um, and a lot of people like in the PTA like the precision tree decide to go for the bloodline and not the attack speed. So this is definitely gonna hurt her actually a good amount. Like doing this to other AD carries I think is also impactful, but the fact that she doesn't build any attack speed early is also going to be a big hit. But then you also have to keep in mind she gets attack speed from her W, so you know maybe she's a bit more balanced. I think this sort of hits her in like the higher elos of play. I think that this is kind of weird, because they say that she's doing well in all skill brackets, but then we're hitting her base stats that probably higher elo players do better. So she's doing well in all skill brackets, but we're only nerfing high elo. Essentially, what they're saying. So it kind of contradicts what they're trying to do. I think that they should nerf her movement speed, at least in my opinion. That's the thing. If I was to nerf Misfortune, which I don't think I would really need to, um, like she's strong, but like I don't think she's overbearing. But if there is one thing that's overbearing about her is her move speed, and then like she could build Bloodthirster and take overheal and like have like a 600 HP shield or something. So uh, she's just hard to get onto as an AD carry, and she's just so fast and so tanky. So I don't think the attack speed really is like what's making her so good. But I think it's really funny that they say she's doing well in all skill brackets, but we're gonna hit so only the good players at Misfortune suffer. You know, but whatever, whatever. Rumble nerfs, thank God. I'm so glad that this champion is getting nerfed. These are just based at like rounding changes, but then the biggest one, so we can ignore these. The biggest one is that they're trying to nerf Rumble mid, which I think is very good that they're trying to do. Because I don't think it's very healthy because he just pushes the wave and runs around and presses W whenever you try to trade with him, so it just encourages you not to trade with him. And I think if you're encouraged not to trade with someone, I don't think it's a very fun lane. Like for instance, Ryze, a lot of the times you're just encouraged not to trade with him. I don't think it's a very fun lane. I know like that's sometimes how it has to go. Um, but yeah. Um, let's see exactly what they do. They reduce the move speed, so it's harder to dodge skill shots. They end up reducing it by, um, so it's 40 to 35, so 5% at max rank when it's not, over like 50 to 100 energy. Um, and then it actually gets nerfed by 7.5, yeah, 7.5% when it's, in the sweet spot or whatever you call it. I don't. There's overheated when he's full, but then it's like his prime between 50 and 100. I don't know what it's fucking called. Um, but then they're also nerfing the shield early, which I think is the big thing. Okay, the shield nerf early, and then the thing with Rumble is you usually max Q first, and then I believe you max W as mid lane. I'm actually really curious. I don't really play Rumble. Pro build Rumble. Let's look for a mid laner. Okay, no one wants to practice this fucking champion. Also, I've been seeing some Rumble supports, and that's actually good, so thank God they're nerfing this champion. We'll see what Froggen does. I mean, I don't think Froggen's like the best Rumble ever, but yeah, I guess you max E second, so this is actually a really nice nerf. We'll see what one more person does to make sure we have a good sample size. I don't want to look at Rumble support, dude. Okay, this is probably top lane. Max E second. Alright, I don't know who this person is, but the max E second. So this is actually a bigger nerf than I initially thought. Because at least most people, they max E second, then you're going to be sitting at the 60 HP shield for a long time. As well as the minus 5% move speed here. Wow. Hell yeah. And the minus 7.5 here. It's kind of weird that they only nerfed it by 5% when you're not like in the prime, but then they nerfed it by 7.5 when you're in the prime. I think that's kind of stupid, but I feel like you should be rewarded more for being in the prime, but like it's easier to be in the prime with your W. But anyways, that's like a side rant. If I was a Rumble main, I'd be sort of like questioning that. But yeah, I love this nerf because I hate playing against this champion. So um, I think that Rumble is like a very good flex pick right now, but he also has weaknesses. I think he kind of sucks late game, unless you're like super snowballing. So that's kind of his weakness. Uh, and he has to run into you. So regardless, I think that is a very good nerf for mid lane Rumble, and he'll struggle more into like the control mages mid lane where he relies on the movement speed and relies on the shield. which is exactly where they want to hit him. Sejuani buffs. Sort of reminds me of the Azir Corki buffs. It's like they want these champions to be meta. Um, but they like nerf them so hard and they like want to bring them back. So we're going to go from bonus attack speed 0 to 10%. That's a very nice buff for her jungle clear, as well as applying her passive for her E. Um, I don't know if that like is a huge deal in her jungle clear, but it definitely is something that is very good for her. I think there was at one point where she actually went fleet footwork, and if you combine extra attack speed with fleet footwork, then you can maybe get more fleet footwork procs, but I think you just have to go aftershock nowadays. But you know, maybe something to think about. And then they changed her passive from damage from epic monsters and champions to all monsters and all enemy champions. So I was reading somewhere on Reddit where it's actually not all monsters. It's actually just the big monsters or something. Not all monsters. I could be wrong on that. But if it's all monsters, that's actually like a pretty big, not necessarily nerf, but like kind of a nerf. But if it's the big monsters, what you could do, say these are wolves. This is big wolf. Okay. All right. You kill the two. You're walking up to the camp. You know you auto attack it, and then your passive procs. Okay, so you get the bonus. Armor and MR. All right. Then you kill the two small wolves, or I mean you kill the big wolf, and then as you're attacking the small wolves, since they don't proc your passive, supposedly, but if it's just the big monsters, then it'll start recharging as you're on your way to raptors. All right. So if you kill the big monster first, then I think it starts recharging. I'll have to like actually see that in game. But if it's all monsters, that's kind of wonky because if she gets invaded and she doesn't have her passive up, then she just dies. So, and especially if she doesn't have Q up, and her Q is such a long cooldown. So that's just something to keep in mind. Not really a huge fan of that change. Don't think it makes like complete sense, but you know, they just wanna change her and see what it does. Senna, I'm glad this champion's getting nerfed, but they're just reducing the what's it called? The amount of soul she gets from cannon. It's like her normal drop chance now and not 100%. And then they just made it work with the support item as well. So she just gets like one less soul every, how many cannons do you get a game? Probably like 15. So maybe she ends up losing out on like 14 souls, which I'm down for. I think something that people are not doing as much as they could on Senna is like hovering near jungle camps and waiting for like your jungler to finish it, and then just picking up like the 2 souls that it drops or the 1 soul. And then yeah, bug fix, set nerf. I think they actually went overboard on these. Excuse me. Okay, the health regen. Some people may know if you haven't played set though. His health regen is part of his passive. And so by nerfing his health regen, we can actually go take a look at Set's passive. Set. So, innate, heart of the half beast. Set gains 0.25 based on level health regen per second for every missing health. Okay? And so, um, you know, his health regen, he already gets health regen, so this is kind of a big deal, but you have to like think about other like percent health regen things. I guess what I'm trying to say is like I don't think this completely changes a whole ton because he already has so much health regen. But yeah, I'm glad that they're like more evening out. And then here's where I think that they made the mistake. Like I'm fine with this one. You know, I want Set to be a good champion. I don't think he's like AIDS to play against, so I'm fine with it. But they nerf his W by 20 damage when you max it, which you max it first. But then they also nerf his cooldown by 2 seconds rank 1. But when you max it, okay, it used to be 8, which I think was too broken, but now it's to 12. They nerfed it by 4 seconds. So as you level it up, you like only get it to 12 compared to 8. And having it be 8 seconds, I think it should have just gone to like 9 or 10. Like I don't know why it went to 8. Or I mean, like I don't know why it went to 12. Like it should be like 9 or 10. Okay, like I if you talked with me on Discord or something, I'd say like Set's actually like not a broken champion, but if they want to nerf him, the only thing they should do is nerf his W cooldown. But I didn't mean nerf his W cooldown by 4 seconds. I just meant like nerf him by like a second or two, because I think it's still important for him to be able to get 2 Ws off in a fight, but like the enemy should have more time to like have that window where he doesn't have it up. But nerfing it by 4 seconds, this is so stupid, so stupid. Um, We're nerfing Sona. I'm glad. I don't want to see her top lane. I don't want to see her mid lane. I don't want to see her at all. Um, don't think this really changes much. Like obviously it's just a flat nerf. I think it's especially a flat nerf for the top lane Sona because the movement speed you need in the top lane is um, more when you're trying to escape from ganks. I needed like a drink of water or something. Um, no longer just a heal bot. Okay, we're gonna give her current health damage. So kind of interesting. Then we're gonna raise it to 90 at all ranks. That's actually just a buff. And then we're going to make it have the same AP ratio, but make it do less base damage when you max it. And wait, does this scale too? 0.02 to 0.08? Okay. I don't know. I'd have to do the math on whether that's like a buff or not based on someone's current health. Um, but obviously it's going to do more when they're higher HP and less when they're lower HP, but like not really by that much. So kind of weird. Kind of a weird change on our Q. Silence no longer counts mobilizing effects, so this is a nerf to or like a buff to her when she's fighting Soraka, Fiddle, and I think that's it. Lose only silences? Maybe Blitzcrank? Blitzcrank's probably the biggest one, I guess. Yeah, Blitzcrank, because Blitzcrank could just flash R, but like Soraka can E, obviously. It's like the biggest nerf to or buff to the Soraka matchup, and then probably the Blitz, and then maybe the Fiddle. Um, and then the Zoomies buff by 0.1 ability power, and then we see this is what I don't get. Okay, they were like, we don't want AP Yumi. Okay, we don't want this. All right, but then they just like buff her AP ratio, so it's like, and then nerf her base damage, so it like encourages you to build AP. Um, so I don't know what direction they want to go in with that, but I don't think it's like a ginormous change. So I expect her to not really change that much, but I'm curious about the Q damage change, and then the Q mana buff. And then we got our old jungle changes. All right. So let me like go through each thing. So unique monster hunter. So when you have the jungle item, you get more XP, and they raised that from 50 to 60. I think that's actually exactly where they need to buff junglers for like the later stages of the game, um, because it should be more beneficial for them to take their camps and not their laners. And right now it's only 50 XP. Um, and then the first large monster is down by first large monster bonus XP is down by 15. So I guess this makes their first clear a little bit worse, which I also think that's like a good spot to hit them in. Because right now I think that they're almost too strong in the early game and too weak later in the game. Um, so I think that sort of balances it out. Like maybe their first clear isn't as good, um, and they get level 3, and then the gank doesn't work or it does, and then they have to go kill their jungle camps, and maybe they barely get level 4, and then they you know, do their whole reset. Not a complete jungle expert, but I like the idea. Then we're nerfing funnel. I love it. I love nerfing funnel. Um, what I'm confused on is removed on item completion. Now it's removed at 14 minutes. So I actually didn't know it was removed on item completion. So yeah, funnel just doesn't really work until it like still somewhat works because there's 6 minions in a wave and you get 4 per camp. And if you just like let your support get to, then you're not funneling as hard. So it's definitely a hit to it, but I don't think it's dead. I don't think funneling's dead. So I wish it was just dead. I think there's definitely ways you can work around it, and it might still be just broken, even if you get 13 less gold from playing minions. um, anyways, we're gonna take a look at the Krugs. So what they did with the Krugs is they actually distributed it more normally. So currently on the current patch, not this one, it's usually pretty good just to like kill the big Krug and then kill like the medium Krug and then just like leave if you have something else to do. Like if you have other games up. But they're sort of more distributing it. They're nerfing the big Krug and they're nerfing the medium Krug and then buffing or like they're slightly buffing the medium Krug, but then buffing the rest, which is 5 to 9 gold, it's almost double. So you know your Krugs are gonna be total they're gonna be worth 15 more XP and 10 more gold, which is more than they were before, but it just takes a lot more time. So overall, you could actually maybe almost consider this a nerf to the Krug camp, but when we consider like also the large monster XP, I think that's like it's still a nerf or still a buff for jungle, but I think it also could be considered like a almost a nerf to the Krug camp because you have to stay and sit there and kill them all for so long. It's kind of a nerf to like the Elises and the not necessarily Lee Sin, but like Rek'Sai maybe. Uh, but yeah, it buffs the champions that already do Krug. So maybe Rek'Sai when he does like the red Krug's Raptors clear, kind of buffs him because he gets 15 more XP and more gold. Then we nerf blue and red. I don't exactly know why. Because like those were going to your laners, I guess. Maybe that's the reason. But like 5 XP, like it just seems like a weird change. And then monster XP scaling is the biggest buff here. So at level 4 and 5 to 6 is where we're increasing the amount. So it's interesting that it's just level 4 and 5 to 6. So maybe they're just trying to make junglers hit level 6 faster. Um, I guess is the goal here. I'll have to see it in reality, but it just seems like a interesting change, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what their aim is, but you know, I'm down. We just update visual effects on Annie, Malphite, Nautilus. Good. I'm glad that they're doing it for Nautilus. I think that makes sense. Then ARAM nerfs, bug fixes. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Cool. Okay. That's good. Okay, this is actually the biggest bug fix is Brom's stun wasn't being properly affected by tenacity, which actually was like they should put this in the real patch notes because that's like a huge, technically a nerf to Brom, like for at least feel wise. Um, then this one's actually really funny. Is Yumi no longer gets stuck in her ally Mordekaiser's death realm when she casts W, U, and me towards him as he is reviving via Zillin's Chrono Shift. Like what the fuck? Like Yumi would get stuck in the death realm. I think that's pretty funny. Um, Champions may longer progress from prototype ominous to several rotation. Oh, that is a pretty big bug. I'm glad they fixed this, but it's still like I don't know why we nerfed Lux last patch, but it's more consistent with her E. It doesn't actually have to be in the center of the bush anymore. But it's like why did we nerf Lux? Not really sure. Not really sure why we did, but we did. Um, this is a pretty big nerf. I think this should be mentioned on like the actual patch notes, not a bug fix, but because almost every Katarina takes Conquer right now, and if it if her dagger hit more than one target, she'd get, like, say it hit two targets, she'd get 4 stacks, but now she's only gonna gain 2. And like that's just like a straight up nerf. Like I don't even think that's like a bug fix. Like that's honestly I would assume that's how it worked. But like I guess if you hit Syndra Q on 2 people, it only gives you one stack of Conqueror. If you were to take Conqueror on Syndra for some reason. Um, this is actually a pretty nice buff for Garen. His Q no longer cancels mid attack animation. There's like a lot of times where Garen will like Q and then like you'll see the animation go and then they like flash and it stops. There's actually apparent in the Garen versus Akali matchup. So if Akali was still a good champion, then maybe this would be like a good buff to help the Garen versus Akali matchup, which he already storms. Because like Garen would try to Q Akali and then she'd go in stealth in her shroud and then it would get canceled. But I assume now it probably doesn't get canceled mid attack when a target teleports far away. I wonder if that includes stealth. I'm not sure. Um, I wonder if this blind spot on the northern wall affects Caitlyn's trap in the bottom river by blue. Because that one's a sneaky one. That's kind of a weird bug that it didn't provide the right amount of gold. Look at the skins. Cool. Oh, I have to go back. Fuck. Okay. And then I don't like either one of these skins. I think the splash art on the Yumi one looks like demented. And then I don't like the Jinx one either. I don't really like her hair at all. So, you know, I don't really play those two champions. But I actually like the end game of this one. But I think the splash is just like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is wrong with her face? Looks like she's just fucking high or something. I don't know. And then the Jinx one, I don't even like it in game. But I think the red one's not that bad. But there's better Jinx skins in my opinion. But maybe it has cool sound effects and animations and stuff. Who knows? But yeah, that's it for my patch notes rundown. Overall, I think they did an okay job, but like they hit a lot of these champions. Like I think the nerfs on Diana were good, the nerfs on Rumble were good, but other than that, like I don't. Like, I think they probably should have looked at. I think the nerfs on Leona were good, but I think she's gonna need more. Um, and then as for Galio and Ezreal and Azir and yeah, for the Galio Azir, like they buffed the champion where they were weak, and I wonder if that's like a really that like if that's a good idea, because like it's good to have weaknesses sometimes. Like we don't always have to all be strong, you know. We don't always all have to have strong like be strong like Rise, where his only weakness is CC. But anyways, that's it for my patch notes rundown. I think they did a mistake on set. I think that they should have just nerfed it by 2 seconds and like literally just called it a day. And the health regen probably is a good nerf as well, but like we did not need to nerf it by 4 seconds. That's just ridiculous. And then I like the Senna nerf. She was getting too many souls and her range was obnoxious. Other than that, I don't think this changes much. I hate the Galio buff. I think that's just so fucking stupid. Like, why would we buff his wave clear? I assume this buffs his wave clear because we get 4 ticks, so it gives a little bit more damage, so he needs less IP to clear. I think that's just so stupid. Like, why would we buff that? Why, out of all the things to buff on that champion, why not like buff his E damage or something, or knock up duration, or his R cooldown? Like, buff something interesting about the champion, not his Q wave clear that makes the lane uninteractive. Um, whatever. Um, And that's about all I have. They need to nerf Aphelios more. I think he definitely escaped scot-free. Um, I'll go through the champions that probably should have been nerfed, like Kiana. Kiana mid. Uh, I think her movement speed needs to be nerfed, or maybe her, you know, lack of needing items to do damage. Like she could be 05 and one shot the 80 carry. Maybe that needs to be addressed. Maybe her invisibility needs to be addressed, but I'd like the O5 Kiana to not one-shot the AD carry. I think that might be a good first step, and then we can look at other things. Um, I think Aphelios definitely needs to be looked at more. I think we'll see how the changes sit for Akali. Um, I need a champion list. We'll do Analytics. We'll just look at what challenger. Echo, no. I think Bard is actually really good. People are sleeping on him. I think Soraka needed to be hit. So, I guess Soraka. We hit Rumble. I'm a big fan favorite of nerfing Yasuo, but I know they wouldn't. um, I think Vigar probably should be nerfed a little bit. Like I think maybe his cage cooldown, cage by like 2 seconds. Honestly, I know you could only pick him in certain matchups, but he's almost getting to the point where you could just sort of pick him whenever, and I don't think he's very fun to play against. Syndra kind of escaped. I think she does too much damage right now. Um, and part of it's because she's no longer gated by mana after the mana buffs like a few months ago. So maybe look at mana or just damage. Um, I'd like to keep her cooldowns the same. I think just maybe like 10 damage on her Q or something is like a good starting point. Um, Gragas is kind of strong, but I don't think he's overbearing. Um, I think Rise should probably need nerfed. Um, I don't know how they do it. They need to create a weakness for him. He needs to have a weakness. So his weakness can't just be if he gets CC'd. He needs something else. Okay. So maybe like somehow remove the ability for him to take TP or something. I don't know. I don't know how you nerf Rise. What a terrible champion. Is that it? Okay. I feel like there's only 80 ranks. Oh no. Okay, this is not in the right order. Um. Okay. Yeah, I'd say those are the biggest things. I think these champions escaped the nerf train. It's Kiana, Rise, Aphelios, Soraka, Vigar, Syndra. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but these champions definitely probably should have been nerfed this patch. I think Vigar maybe is lower on the list, but I think he will be nerfed soon. Um, I think they should get rid of this guy. Senna I mean, Aphelios just nerfed him a bit. Senna maybe could have got nerfed a little bit harder. We can maybe add her. She did get nerfed, but just not, you know. Actually, 14 souls is like a pretty good nerf if we think about it like that. And then maybe Syndra gets nerfed a little bit. Um, and then I don't know how you nerf Soraka. You have to like nerf her Q cooldown or something. Anyways, that's it for me. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm gonna have to go do some mindfulness and then go to bed or do some homework. I'm not really sure. It's kind of 6 a.m. right now and I have class at 11, so kind of on a weird sleep schedule. So have a good night and peace out. Or morning.